Welcome back, all you gamers, to another weekly Respawn recap. Hope you guys all enjoy. We got lots of fun stories to talk about. Are you ready, Hunter?
I'm ready to have so much fun.
I'm ready to have more fun, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. Let's get into it. In some relatively breaking news as of this morning, or so it should be announced, this is pre-recorded, so barring any outside investigations or announcements that we do not yet know about, that's going to be Sinatraa, now potentially returning to Valorant, and will be allowed to compete yet again, as he should, as of today, be unbanned by Riot Games after being given a 6-month ban for not complying with the ongoing investigation.
Which now we see, I think the big questions for everyone is, will any more information come out after all of this, and will any other teams end up picking him up? Like, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna go back and compete, or is he just gonna be a content creator for a little while? What's gonna happen?
Yeah, was he waiting for the official announcement to clear the air out there, maybe waiting for this day to make an announcement of his own about some ongoings outside of this? Will we hear more from Cleo and that side of things? Obviously still very serious ongoing accusations, of which Riot Games was also free to mention in their post, where they banned him for 6 months, which, yes, he is now unbanned, but remember, in that statement they also make sure to clarify, hey, if there's any further evidence out there, we always have the right to reopen this case and to further investigate. It seems for now they left that to outside sources, and that being what was called a police report filed against Sinatraa, what's going to happen. But assuming that he is free, he is unbanned, to your point as well, we know that he's not going to return to the current Sentinels roster. He has been enjoying content and streaming, been a lot more frequent on social media as of late right now as well. So is there going to be a team that still has interest in someone like Sinatraa, who very clearly is still a talented player? What do you guys think? As of today, Sinatraa, after 6 months, is officially unbanned and free to compete in Valorant. The great debate does continue. Something I love picking your guys' brains about is aim assist when it comes time for esports and competitive gaming, because when it comes time for comparing console versus mouse and keyboard, it's widely been a debate out there of aim assist and trying to balance both these platforms, especially when they go head to head in the rare games they do. But a lot of games, it seems like over the past few years, of course, implementing crossplay. It was actually Doc this past week. We had JGod posting clips about this. It was Nickmercs and Doc kind of going back and forth. Myth, Clayster, everyone talking about aim assist on console versus us mouse and keyboard players.
So the conversation, I feel like, has been especially relevant recently because of all the Apex drama with taking out tap strafing, your favorite word, as we know. And so they took that out, and everyone's argument was, well, that was a big benefit for PC, but controller players still have aim assist, and it's huge. Clayster, like you said, agreed, saying in Apex Legends that the aim assist on controller feels like cheating. But then the other side of the coin, right, we have Doc saying, I mean, he sees a hacker and he thinks, oh, maybe that's aim assist, and that's how much he feels like aim assist really affects gameplay. I mean, I think it's crazy.
And then you also have, I think it was Huskers responding to Clayster saying, Clayster says aim assist in Apex is crazy. Huskers says come to Warzone.
Yeah.
It's also nuts, to which JGod posting a pretty crazy clip about aim assist. He's done a lot of breakdowns on this kind of stuff. And it just, for me, someone as dumb as me, it just makes you wonder, is there ever going to be a perfect balance? Because I think this was a great debate in Fortnite and the rise and peak of Fortnite, and now we're seeing it in Warzone. We're seeing it with the resurgence of Apex Legends. Will there ever be a game, though, where, you know, of course, if you flip it the other way and all of a sudden mouse and keyboard has too many advantages, you're still going to see complaints? Will there ever be a perfect balance? It just seems really unlikely.
I'll say, even like you said, Myth brought up the fact that he feels like more and more people will just use controller on PC moving forward. But then there's some games like, I mean, Siege, when you use controller, you don't get aim assist. And so some games do have it as that even playing field, but there's always going to be the argument that when you're playing on a controller, you're going to be behind the curve of a mouse and keyboard. And so I think it's just going to be difficult. I'm very curious what Doc is going to do in his game, since he's so critical of it. And so say his game releases, is that going to have cross-play? It must. And so is it going to have aim assist or not?
Yeah, it's going to be a widespread debate. I mean, there's so many widespread debates. Like SBMM is another one that you probably will never solve. But it does, you got games like CSGO and League of Legends that just going to sit back and think, you know what, we're going to stick it. We're not going to do that cross-play fuss. But some games have to attempt it to try and be as big as they are. So what do you guys think about mouse and keyboard versus console or controller players and the giant aim assist debate? Good old Valorant may be seeing some issues as we slowly approach Berlin underway. Should be this weekend to begin, and hopefully going to be NA supremacy continuing, but we'll see what the results. What I say? Did I say something?
No.
Okay. You always worry me when you do that, but there were some complaints, just like we saw with Iceland. I'm just going to stick with Iceland. We saw player complaints about some PC issues, and apparently that has also continued heading into Berlin.
we saw so many people take to Twitter just for the few issues at Berlin before Berlin even started. So they fly in and people expect, oh, we're gonna have these PCs, we're gonna have our accounts, we can practice and we'll be fine. But then they get there and they see, oh, maybe we don't have the best PCs. Some people saying, I forget who it was, like, oh, hopefully Ethan saying, hopefully next year the PCs can run Valorant. And like, you have those problems. And when you have professional players not able to practice or have their accounts to have all their agents on, that seems like a problem, I will say.
Especially when it's your two NA teams. And yes, I mean, there's a lot of teams with well-known backings, but when you have Sentinels players and 100 Thieves players, two of your biggest brands entering Berlin complaining, it's definitely going to be, well, you'd hope warranted. We also had some food complaints, which throws back, if you guys are real ones, you know, the last time we talked about Iceland, there was also food complaints, and the same weekend it was, I believe, Rainbow Six Siege. Bunch of pro players all in the same few days just tweeting out all of their food. I think we also saw that this past week.
It's
too.
like the people were saying the Fire Fest all over again, where the food just looks awful, which we'll say we saw Sentinels. This might have been a joke, but seeing Sentinels post, oh, look at our food versus Envy's food, and there was just such a massive difference in how bad it looked was so funny. But we also saw legitimate complaints like players having some of their equipment, like mouse pads, cleaned with certain spray that they have to get a whole new mouse pad in time for the event. And so it doesn't seem like the biggest deal, but these random little problems here and there are things that I feel like could be fixed and hopefully will be in the future.
Yeah, and certainly getting hopefully a bit better, but you got to remember as well, no one else is doing it like Riot Games. I mean, we still get LAN events, so we can't complain too much. Obviously, the players, you know, they're there. They've made the travel. They probably expect a bit more perfection from Riot Games, but still going to be a great event. Still super excited for it. So I guess one last question for all y'all is, who do you think is bringing home VCT Berlin? Ninja showing some love this past week as we saw two of the bigger moves and hopefully some more big moves coming sometime in the near future, as it was DrLupo first and then TimTheTatman leaving Twitch for YouTube. Some big signings and the platform wars, and we could talk about that, probably will in the podcast for some time. It was full circle though, because if you guys remember back about, what, just over 2 years ago to the Mixer deals where Ninja and Shroud, Ninja of course being the first and the bigger of those two deals, where he had been so longingly accused of being a sellout for leaving Twitch and going to Mixer. But it was someone like TimTheTatman who took to his defense to say he wasn't selling out. He opened so many doors for so many industry members, and now we have full circle 2 years or so later where DrLupo and TimTheTatman are making similar moves, and you have Ninja showing them some good old love.
It definitely seems, to no surprise probably to anyone, but these moves to YouTube are much better received than maybe Ninja's move to Mixer. And I have to imagine that's just because of how established YouTube is. It's not some side hustle for Microsoft, you know, as Mixer was, quote unquote. And so it seems like it's being received better, but it is nice to see Ninja supporting them, even though I feel like in the back of my head, he's probably a little bit sad about the whole situation. Like, dang, I could have been on YouTube with all of them. Now I have this Twitch contract, which I'm sure he got paid a lot of money for, and it's well received, whereas I got hated on.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, I would love to pick his mind on that, because he's probably seen a lot different reactions, or I guess a lot more of the things that we never get to see, all the DMs and the hate he got back in the day. Can you imagine all of a sudden that Tim announces that he left for Mixer and Mixer's now back and re-announcing? But you bring up some great points, because back in the day, Ninja was widely hated for this move for some really weird reasons. And what if he had waited? Of course, he was really towards that, closer to his prime and his peak, and probably had to make the move. But what if he were to have waited out and all of a sudden he doesn't go to Mixer, but he goes to YouTube and he starts this wave instead? Either way, the ripple effects of Mixer and its unfortunate downfall have now led us here, and we're not done yet. There's going to be a lot more big signings. DrLupo and TimTheTatman are just the start. Ninja showing some love, and who knows, once his current Twitch contract is up, I wouldn't doubt that he can move on over as well. So what do y'all think? YouTube versus Twitch, it does continue. Who's going to win? Guess we'll find out in the future. Some good old honesty coming out of Dr. Disrespect. I love the situation he's in, where he can just be honest about both platforms. I mean, we're so used to seeing streamers who are on Twitch who really want to say some things but never really do, and vice versa. We've actually seen some YouTube streamers, Ray, alongside Dr. Disrespect and Courage and others, speak up about the problems that have been ongoing with YouTube, but you rarely see people really dive in and be open and honest about their own platform. Doc is not really tied contractually to either one, so he has now spoken up against Twitch but most recently also spoken up against YouTube, saying that when it comes from a functionality perspective, discoverability, and overall for a streaming community, he thinks that YouTube is below Twitch and Twitch is superior.
The community, just like there's nothing for them to do and stay active with, and the chat stays open, or I could transfer over to somewhere else, and it just doesn't live. That's one of the things that YouTube's gonna have to figure out is, like, yeah, they got their VODs, they got their formula, but they're gonna have to figure out a way to create a community environment around live streaming and real-time interaction.
I mean, when you think about all the streamers on Twitch that won't speak up because they don't want to be in the bad graces of Twitch, you know, because we've had so many examples of Twitch treating people differently that you don't want to speak out against Twitch if you are on their platform. But seeing Doc talk about this, obviously, I feel like I agree with it. I mean, it's so hard to find people's streams on YouTube. If they just redesign some things and get things straightened out, I feel like a lot of streamers have recommendations for them that I think, and maybe in this next year with all these signings, they're planning on vamping that stuff up. We'll just have to see how successful they can actually be.
Yeah, I think most people are used to going to youtube.com as opposed to YouTube Gaming, which is more that platform for it. And so I think maybe we'll see the movement of, all right, if you want to go to YouTube streams, you go to YouTube Gaming, not YouTube. YouTube fighting that strange battle of, okay, you know, we're doing really well with videos. Twitch does not have to fight the battle. Twitch can literally promote streams because that's what they are, as opposed to YouTube. If you promote all of these IRL streams or these streams in general ahead of your video content, how does that affect your bottom line? I'm sure Fwiz has thought about this as well. When it comes time to the borderline community of Twitch, it's tough because Twitch has been in the streaming realm for so long, and from beginning to now, how do you beat a community like Twitch? But certainly as well, for finding streams, discoverability. Fwiz has had his combatants on Twitter talking about this, but it's been a constant complaint for a lot of YouTube streamers.
I'll say even Ninja, I'm pretty sure it was, brought up the fact that, hey, if you're streaming on YouTube versus Twitch, YouTube's a good platform, but if you want to start a community and build a community in a smaller game or just build up your community slowly, then Twitch is 100% the place for that versus YouTube. And so when so many massive streamers have those strong opinions about your platform, you have to wonder, like, when are those changes going to come?
Yeah, but it makes you think about TimTheTatman. He says, you know, you can expose yourself to a lot more eyeballs on YouTube. That's because you're TimTheTatman.
Yeah.
You are now probably a very much top streamer on YouTube, and you're bringing over an audience size that makes you discoverable on a platform, which is still tough to discover new people on. If it's you or me, you know, drawing in 3 viewers, can you be discovered more on YouTube than you can on Twitch? They're both extremely hard nowadays. Yeah. So it's really tough to compare, but certainly so many streamers have their thoughts on Twitch versus YouTube. What do you guys think about it? Yeah, as per usual, we hope you guys all enjoy the Respawn recap. Until next time, you take care of yourselves and drink some water. Oh, freak.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.